So what's happening here is this line of code. So this function is deep in the net HTTP file server code in Go. The net HTTP file server is a thing that basically converts files onto a file system from HTTP requests into HTTP responses using those files. In this case, what we have is we're determining what content type to attach to the request. So what this will do is it will check to see if it can figure out what the MIME type of a file is by its extension. Normally, this isn't the best idea. However, realistically, it works well enough that you can just rely on it because Windows requires you to have file extensions, asterisk, and people just have file extensions so that things work fine on Windows. So if you can detect what the MIME type is by the file extension, then, you save a lot of other effort. Otherwise, it'll attempt to read the first 512 bytes of the file and run the detect content type algorithm, which is a standard algorithm to detect content types. I don't think I need to cover it here, but if you want to, just look into it on Google. It's basically just tries to read the first 512 bytes of a file for magic numbers, and then will just copy out what it thinks is a good guess and go with that. The important part here is that when it does it, it effectively reads 512 bytes to that temporary buffer, detects the content type, and then it rewinds the file so that the rest of the file serving stack can just work. That makes sense. That's normal enough. But why does that work? When you have an HTTP.file system, you basically have something that opens HTTP.files. So to go down here and let's go over and see what a file system is. An HTTP.file system is an interface with a single method. You give it a name and it returns a file or it blows up and dies. And then a file is a combination of like 5 methods. A file can be closed, which means you don't want to read from it anymore. A file can be read from, which means you can get data out of it. A file can be see-through or have the position moved around like fast forwarding or rewinding a VHS tape. We can read a directory we can attempt to use a file as a directory because technically files and directories are the same thing. It's complicated. Don't learn how file systems works. You'll be ruined for life. And we can also get metadata about a file in the form of file info. But if you notice here, we have a net HTTP.file, and then it gets an io/fs.file. What is an io/fs.file? So let's go to iofs, and we look at an io/fs.file. And oh, look, an io/fs.file is only 3 methods. You can get file metadata info, you can read from a file, or you can close it. This is a subset of the http.file interface. It only has io.closer, io.reader, and stat. This means that in order for something to be an io/fs.file system, that this interface is more specific than this interface. So things that match this interface don't always match this interface. And if we look around here, I'm pretty sure we'll see where it converts a fs.file system to an IOFS file system to an HTTP file system. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to see an error that is gonna, oh, here we go. Yep, here's where it converts from an IOFS file system to an HTTP file system. It sees if the underlying file has a seek method, and if not, it can't do anything.